Hello, folks. Welcome to Tuesday Night TerrorVision. I'm your host, Etep Wakuian, right here on Wrestling with Horror, joined by Mrs. Co-host Trina. How you doing, Trina?
I'm well. Happy to be here. Looking forward to getting into this review. This is the first Christmas horror movie of the month. So, yeah, let's get into it. And hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, hey, what's up? We got J-Man, Manliness and Motivation, CB. Yes, welcome, gents. We got a couple folks watching over on X. Thank you for joining us over there as we're streaming to Trina's channel as well. So wherever you are, wherever you're watching, thank you for being here. Bone, what's up, Bone? How you doing? And I'll do this right now up front because we have a few of these for the month of December to give away. So here's 5 channel memberships. We'll throw out to some recipients right there because it's Christmas month, and I have to do something with the movie Die Hard this year again because that's my favorite Christmas movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, it is a Christmas movie.
And I still have the Die Hard Christmas cookies I made last year in the they're in the freezer. I made John McClane. I made Hans Gruber. What's the one guy he kills in the stairway? We have Holly and we have Al Powell. Yeah, I think there was 5 of them I made.
Nice.
And, frosting them, like getting it right, took like hours to do 5 cookies. It was ridiculous. I'm like, this is why I only made 5. But yeah, so that's well, I'll show some. I'll show those. But we've got I got a video game here. I'm going to download this. It's a free game, fan made. Given the fact that I have a computer that is capable of performing now. My old computer had performance anxiety. What up, Papa Cotton Hale? But no, this is a wicked ass looking game. Like I said, fan made, and Chris Fisk shared this with me in our group chat today. Called Terrordrome: Rise of the Boogeymen. So we'll go back here to the beginning of this. We'll check some of this out. Whoops. Yeah, I cannot wait. I'm going to download this tonight. What up, Frankie? How you doing, brother? You can tell this is fan made, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Because it's got like it actually looks cool. It doesn't look like a commercial.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, nice.
It's like Mortal Kombat. Which I love the music too.
This is great.
It's from Friday the 13th Part 6, which is awesome. I wonder if you can play this with a controller because I have that Xbox controller that it's USB.
Oh, so yeah, that's right.
If that works, I'll be playing it with this. But how dare you? But yeah, that's kind of that. Let me scroll ahead here to another one. We got whoever is doing a playthrough on this is a huge Michael Myers fan, which nothing against it. But here's Michael. Look at Leatherface, looks good.
Wow, yeah, this is well made.
It is. He can't get his chainsaw started. That's what I'm like. Chainsaw is not really, it's not a great weapon, like, for combat like this.
Yeah, I like how Michael's like special move is the gravestone.
How about this one? This is an awesome matchup, and being a Bruce Campbell fan, I think you'll appreciate this. Maniac Cop.
Yep.
It's Robert Zadar. Oh, fuck, he's got a shotgun. That's awesome. Is Michael OP in this game or what?
It seems like it, yeah. The person who made this definitely favors Michael.
Right? Etep stars in Attack the Killer Schnoz. He knows it. The biggest weapon in the game is Etep's nose. God damn it. Let's see who else we got here. There's oh, wait, is this one yeah, here you go. Look at it. It's Ash.
That's great.
The boomstick did not work.
Oh, I like the porch, the swinging in the back. The porch swing. This is cool.
He's fighting zombies. Oh, here's him versus Jason on the dock. This is from part 3. That's the Richard Brooker Jason. Yeah, look at, he hits Michael. Michael's like barely taking any damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit. Let's see what else we got. Wait, who's this? Herbert. Whoa, Reanimator.
Yeah.
I had to think for a second. I'm like, wait, that's Reanimator. If Herbert West beats Michael Myers and Jason lost to him like twice, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, that'll be weird.
Right? Although it doesn't look like the events are going to unfold that way. The environments in this are fantastic looking.
Like yeah, they really are. The guy, whoever put this together, man, he did an awesome job.
Yeah. So Michael's just jumping up and down. What? Who we got next? Oh, Freddy. I think he fights a Xenomorph. Oh, wait, no. Here it is. Right? Is this? Oh, Candyman.
Oh, nice.
Look at I would say Candyman was whooping his ass, but then as soon as I say that, he starts to get fucked up.
Is this on is this like on Steam or something?
I don't, I'll have to look. Hang on. Let me look here. That game looks fantastic though.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, I am definitely gonna download that tonight. Let's see if he put the link in there. Where's it at? He didn't put the link in. I'll get the link from him. But yeah, that looks freaking awesome. I'm Freddy versus Etep's nose. God damn it! I thought it was IRS. It did look like IRS. Trina's like, son of a bitch in wrestling references. There's the phone lighting up. Damn, she's quick. Quick. Start calling. It's Quickstraw McGraw. It's me, Quickstraw. Oh my God. Yeah, I did see it. Is his ankles buckled under the weight. Okay, we're not talking wrestling. Okay. So I didn't get a chance to get the title card. But normally here we have a title card. So I'll just play this. No.
Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
Now, horror, Christmas horror to me is not, it's not like an odd concept, because I look at all these different holidays and they've all got different traditions and they've all got things that you can use for this. And what they did with Black Christmas, it was Bob Clark directed this.
Yes.
1974. And this is one of the movies that's credited as like basically the original slasher.
Yeah. There was some things I noticed in this movie, and we definitely can get into that, but I noticed like some camera angles in this movie that definitely other horror movies were like inspired by the camera angles and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, 1974. This is an early one. This was great.
This is the 50th anniversary of this movie.
Yes. Yep. So it's a good year to be doing this review.
Yeah. Now we got 24 watching. Thank you for joining, folks. Well, I'll let you go ahead and kick this one off.
All right. So, yeah, it starts off the kind of we're seeing like the sorority house, and they're singing Silent Night and just Christmas songs, and we're seeing it from so I always called it Raimi Cam, but obviously it dates earlier than that because this is 74. So we're kind of seeing it from behind the camera. And it's similar to how Halloween was filmed, like when we were seeing Michael's point of view. That's very this was reminiscent of that. And so we're hearing like the caroling, like the Christmas songs in the sorority house, and then we're kind of hearing like this weird breathing. It was kind of heavy breathing.
Yeah.
And in like a bit of a shaky cam. And then we're like kind of like looking into the house, and then it backs away, and then we start climbing up the trellis on the side of the house. And inside the house, we see Barbara, or Barb, as she's called in the movie. She gets a phone call, and she's played by Margot Kidder, Lois Lane in Superman. So she gets a phone call, and as like the phone is like as she's getting the phone call, it also shows like that there's a prowler in like the house, like the attic part of the house. He's like making his way in as the phone is ringing, and then the party starts breaking up and stuff, and so on the phone is her mom, and everyone's like making plans for Christmas, and her mom is saying that she's getting a place with this guy. And so Barb says, Mom, you're a real gold-plated whore. So I was like, that was hilarious that she said that. And then she was obviously upset by this because she wanted to go with her mom, but her mom's, going to be with her boyfriend, so she can't.
Yep.
So, she's talking to the other girls and asked if anyone wants to go skiing because her mom got a place and whatnot. And so Jess said, yeah, I'll go. And then the phone rings again, and Barb picks it up, and we hear like this like moaning on the phone, and she says, hey, it's him again, it's the moaner. And the way that the person on the other end of the phone is talking, and he's really obscene. I did write every single thing he said down, but I don't know if I should read it on the stream. But it's really obscene.
It fits in with the Rob Zombie dialogue from last week's movies.
It really does.
Like, I'm like, did a very young Rob Zombie write this? Like, was this the musings of like a 7-year-old Rob Zombie?
I mean, yeah, it could be. It really could be. But yeah, it's weird because as the person is like, he's saying this stuff, but it also sounds like it's more than one person on the phone. So we really don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And CB says Black Christmas is scary because the killer is not a monster or paranormal. It's just a man that's escaped from the nut house. Yeah. Yeah, this movie is very unique. I like this one a lot. I like how different it is from other slashers, like where it doesn't go into the paranormal or
not at all.
Yeah, it's just a guy. But it's like his story, like the killer is very strange. And yeah, he's saying all this obscene stuff, and then Barbara tells him off, and then the phone, line gets disconnected, and then one of the girls says, you shouldn't provoke him, because it was Claire. Claire says, you shouldn't provoke him. There was a attack on a woman, if you know what I mean, a couple weeks ago, and she said it was a townie, and Barb is kind of a jerk in this film. She says, well, you can't do that to a townie. And so Claire kind of walks off. She's just going to walk off. She's going to get packed to go. She's going home for the holidays. So Jess, kind of gives Barb a look and goes after Claire, and Jess is like, yeah, she's just, she's had enough, and Jess says, she's had enough trouble trying to fit in. Do you really have to go after her like that? And then Barb is like just adding, she's like, I know a professional virgin when I see one, and all this stuff. So she's kind of a bully to Claire.
Yep.
And then Mrs. Mack, kind of the house mother, comes in, and she's got some presents, and then we see upstairs Claire starts packing, and as she's in her closet, we see it, but she doesn't see it. We see someone hiding in her closet. And it's kind of like behind those dry cleaner garment bags. They're clear. Yeah, so her cat starts meowing. Claude, her cat, is meowing. So she's like calling for the cat. And so she goes towards the closet, and then we see her get attacked. And it ends there. We don't see what happens to her. We just know that she gets attacked. With the garment bag.
Garment bag.
Yeah.
And they jump cut a lot in the kill scenes. And if I'm not mistaken, which I haven't seen the 2006 version nearly as many times as I've only seen that maybe once or twice. I think twice. Mm-hmm. This one I've seen 5-6 times, maybe more. I think they recreated that scene with the plastic in the 2019 one, which is a absolute abject feminist dumpster fire. I don't recommend the 2019 Black Christmas. It's Black Christmas in name only. The main antagonist in the 2019 Black Christmas is white men, the patriarchy, and black goo that makes people evil. That is it's a fucking horrible movie. I have a review of it on the channel. If you want to take like 10 minutes and watch that sometime, it's on one. I can't remember which playlist it's on, but if you just, I reviewed that back in the day, and it's god awful.
Yeah, it really is. I couldn't finish it. It was so bad.
I suffered through that. Nick from WCBS sent it to me so I wouldn't have to pay for it. And it was bad. The 06 one at least tried to stay. It was like almost a CW type. It was a pretty cast, you know. And they added a twist to the Billy thing, which I thought was kind of neat, a different take, but neat.
Yeah.
But the original one, obviously the quintessential. The 06 didn't improve. It only added that extra facet that you can take or leave. You don't need it. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Definitely this version, the original, is absolutely the best.
Oh, far and away.
And Frankie says John Carpenter is a fan of this film, and we see the influences in Halloween. Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah, like I was saying with like the camera angle, that's very much what he did with Michael Myers. So yeah, you can see that he definitely he liked this film.
I cinematography wise, yeah, this
Mhm.
really influenced Dean Cundey because
Yeah.
they use a lot of wide shots.
Yes.
And that's like Dean Cundey's signature is that sweeping wide, like almost panoramic kind of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and-
especially the shot at the very end.
yes. Yeah.
That's very much like that's the Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
When Michael as a young child comes
Yep.
out of the house.
That steady cam shot.
Yeah.
That wide, it
Yeah.
panned out and it was the wide steady cam. Yeah, I was thinking that as I was watching like the end credits. I'm like, God, this is like the opening sequence to Halloween with the camera angle here, how we panned out, and you just have the police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad I'm not the only one that noticed that, because the more of these we do, and especially with me going so in depth on Halloween, and I can spot, number one, I can spot Dean Cundey's work now, and number two, I can spot influences on Dean Cundey's work, and these other films like like we were talking about, brought up in the chat, Halloween. Frankie brought up Halloween to this, which this Halloween's 4 years after this, and yeah, it is. You can see, the fingerprints are there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I really like about that. See, so I've seen this movie a few times before, and I never really paid attention to the camera angles until we did the review of Halloween not too long ago, and I was really paying attention to the camera angles, and I saw it in this movie, and I was like, you can definitely tell Carpenter was a fan of this movie, because like Frankie said, the fingerprints are all over it. You can definitely see the influence. So yeah, this is a very enjoyable movie, very well done. Okay, so we left off. Claire gets attacked, and then downstairs, Mrs. Mack is opening the presents, and she's got. They want her to try on a nightgown that they got her. And upstairs, this shot's interesting because we kind of see like the banister with bless you. We see like the banister, and then what are those things called, like the round like legs in between, like I can't remember what those are called, but behind that we see like a man's legs and his shadow on the wall, and we see the shadow of Claire's body draped over, but the only part of him that we see is from the knees down, his like pants, his legs, and then he goes. We see him go up into the attic with her body, but we don't follow him into the attic. We just see him go up into the attic. And then Mrs. Mack is she's an alcoholic, and she finds some of her hidden whiskey, and then Jess like surprises her, and Mrs. Mack says, "You girls are too good to me," and she's wearing the nightgown, and Jess gets a call, and it's her boyfriend Peter, and he apologizes for missing the party, and she wants to talk to him, and he says, he's been up for days and he's tired, and he doesn't want any games, and so they agree to meet tomorrow, the next day. And then upstairs, Mrs. Mack is getting ready for bed, and she rinses her. Okay, so this is hilarious. She's brushing her teeth, and like I said, she's an alcoholic. So she lifts up the toilet tank, and in the tank is a hidden bottle of, I'm assuming, whiskey.
Yeah.
And she rinses her toothpaste out of her mouth with it. And then she looks at herself in the mirror and says, "I wouldn't wear this to have my liver out." So that was cool. And then Bray Wyatt would create stuff like Black Christmas. And oh my God. Who is Bray Wyatt?
He passed away a couple years ago. He was about 38 when he died. He was a wrestler. He did a horror gimmick though.
Oh, okay.
And it's his brother now kind of does the same type of gimmick. Like a horror based like character. He has like an alter ego. Bray did called the Fiend, which he had a specially crafted horror mask he would wear. And then his brother Bo Dallas has kind of like a mask like that too, is his Uncle Howdy character, which is, it's very neat. But yeah, Bray died of heart complications.
Oh, yeah. I get you.
Yeah. But I wanted to highlight Frankie's too. He said the interior of the house was spooky. So many dark, shady areas and red carpets and dark wood added to the effect. Yes.
Yeah.
The atmosphere that they created in this was phenomenal. It really adds to that. Like even like right from the beginning, you don't get many lighthearted moments. You get an overwhelming sense of dread throughout the entire runtime.
Yes.
Which is it really, especially for a Christmas based movie, it's tonally, it's a very, it's very, I like it. I like the way it comes across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a very dark atmosphere. It's it's serious. It's just it's very well done.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jess decides to check on Claire, and there's no answer. And then we see the camera shows us inside of what looks like a room. We see Claire has like that one of those clear garment bags over her head, and she's dead, and she's like rocking. She's just sitting in a rocking chair by a window. But we don't know where that room is. Assuming it's the attic. And then in that scene, it sounds like there's a woman's voice singing some like kind of like a lullaby. And then the song is weird because it's little baby bunting, daddy's gone a hunting, gone to fetch a rabbit skin to wrap his baby Agnes in. And as that song is playing, it fades to, I think, was that the church that it faded to? Because it had the bells too.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like the church.
Yeah. I think it was the church because it was a beautiful building, and the way they faded out to it with that lullaby singing, that I really liked that shot. So all the kids are getting ready to go. They're leaving. They're going on vacation, like their holidays and everything. And then Amanda's waiting there, and he gets hit with a snowball by one of the kids, and a man comes over to apologize, and he says that he's looking for his daughter, and the man says, well, a bunch of girls from the sorority are here, but we haven't seen Claire.
Yep.
And he says, but I can tell you how to get to the sorority. So he shows him that. And now we're back at the sorority, and there's one of the guys from the fraternity. I can't remember who he was, but he's playing Santa, and it's like this charity event, and he's having the kids on his lap and stuff, and he's foul mouthed, and I think he was he.
He was the one girl that looked like the Jewish girl's boyfriend, wasn't he?
Okay, so that was Phyllis's boyfriend.
He looked like Jean Charlotte.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that Jean? Is that a young Jean Charlotte? What the hell? Like, I forgot about this guy.
Yeah, and he was like, he was foul. He's like, ho, 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 shit. And he's complaining about, his girlfriend deciding to go skiing with Barb, and he's like cussing in front of the kids and everything. It's pretty awful. And Claire's father is at the sorority, and Mrs. Mack is, talking to him and not really showing him around, but he's like seeing the like Claire's room and stuff, and she's saying, I don't know where Claire is, and then it turns like it shows a picture of like this old grandma type lady, and she's in various poses, and in a couple of them she's given the finger, and he's not impressed at all. And there's other weird art on the wall that you would expect in a liberal arts college to see on the wall. And yeah, he's very disappointed. He's very disappointed. He's like, I didn't send my daughter to be drinking and picking up boys and stuff. And she says, I can assure you she's a good girl. And then she offers to show him to the fraternity to see if Claire's there. And he's like, no, she's not there. He was already there. And she says, well, yeah, she's like, I'll show you to the fraternity if you give me a ride. And he's like, well, I've already been there. She's not there, but I'll still give you a ride. So she's getting ready, and she's kind of muttering to herself. She's like, what am I supposed to keep all these girls in line? They'd hump the Leaning Tower of Pisa if they could. And then we hear Claude the cat meowing, and she's like starting to kind of look for him, and as she's looking, she dumps her purse, and then she's calling for Claude, and his Claire's father sees what was in her purse. There's like all kinds of like there's whiskey and stuff like that in it, and he's just not impressed at all. But they leave, and we see from a window, the same window where Claire is sitting in a rocking chair. We see from that angle that they leave, and then so Jess is talking to Peter now, and she tells him that she's pregnant, but she doesn't want the baby, and but he does, and so they decide to meet at 9 that night. Okay, and then we're back at the sorority again, and we see Claire's father talking to presumably his wife on the phone. He says, they don't think Claire's in any danger because, he's been talking to the friends and stuff. And he says he probably won't be making it home that night. And in the background, Barbara is giving this little kid some alcohol. She's commenting. He's like, how did she put it? But she was implying like he was drunk or whatever, and like making fun of it. And meanwhile, she's the one feeding him the alcohol. But then a phone call comes in, and Jess answers, and it's a weird phone call. And on the phone is we hear Billy. It's in a weird voice though. It's like this weird, kind of sounds like a woman's voice in a way. And Jess is like, no, you've got the wrong number. And the caller says, what your mother and I want to know is, where did you put the baby? And she says, you've got the wrong number. And the caller says, where did you put Agnes, Billy? And then she's yelling, you got the wrong number, and she hangs up. And so now, so that starts the really weird phone calls that start coming in the house. We don't know who Billy, Agnes, or anyone is. We don't know who this person is calling. It's really strange. And the atmosphere is getting really tense too.
Yeah, they're really they ramp up the tension. And the scene next in the police department with Margot Kidder and the Jewish looking girl and Claire Harrison. Harrison. Her father, where she's fucking with that idiot cop Nash.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's a new exchange. It's fellatio.
Yeah.
And the guy has no fucking clue. It was such a funny scene, just like sandwiched in this tense atmosphere. And it's like this dark, like comedy, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was like, I appreciated that. It was just funny. And it wasn't like ham-fisted, like to where it was like a Marvel formula, you know. It's just like there's not many spots like this.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like a tension breaker.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a relief because they were really building up a lot of tension to this point. And so that was hilarious. And like Nash has absolutely no idea what the word fellatio means or anything, and Barbara is like messing with him. And that was hilarious. So then they're back at the sorority again, and because it keeps switching from the sorority to the pianist hall or recital hall, whatever that is, to the police station. It keeps cutting around. So now we're back at the sorority, and Mrs. Mack comes home and she has trouble getting in the door. She complains about Mr. Reynolds not fixing the door. And when they put that in there, you think, oh, there's going to be something going on with the door. And that actually nothing ever happens with that.
No.
So, yeah.
It was just kind of a one-off that never went anywhere. It was just like a thread they put in there, almost like a red herring.
Yeah, it seems like it. So Jess tells Mrs. Mack about the that they got another phone call, and Mrs. Mack is just looking for booze, and she has like booze like hidden in her like books. She has like cutouts in her books and stuff. She has it hidden everywhere.
Which is funny because she's an adult.
Yeah, she's the house mother, and she's just as, she parties just as much as they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. So Jess, that whole thing at the station with the fellatio and all that. And then Jess decides to go check on Claire's boyfriend to see if he's seen her, but he hasn't. And then later she's at that recital hall or whatever it is. And no, I'm sorry, she's not there yet. We're at that hall, and Peter's like doing his recital for the judges, and it's a really unsettling tune that he plays.
I was like, is he out of tune or is he doing that on purpose?
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed very mashed together. Like it didn't feel like a song. It felt, it was messy. And you can tell that it didn't go well, because whatever he was trying to do, it didn't go well. And then back at the police station again, there's a mom reporting that her daughter's missing. She's a clarinet player, and she had a bad recital and never came home that day. And then all of a sudden, Claire's boyfriend barges into the police station, calling Nash a son of a bitch and all kinds of names, because earlier Nash had, Officer Nash had like kind of said, well, usually when these girls are missing, they're kind of shacked up with some boy somewhere. Yep. So he was mad so Claire's boyfriend was mad that he implied that. So, he came in like a wrecking ball on that. And gave him hell for that. And then we're back at the sorority house again, and Mrs. Mack had prepared dinner for Phyllis and Barb and Mr. Harrison, Claire's father. And we see Barbara kind of laying on the couch, and she starts talking about how, did you know there are turtles that can screw for 3 days? And she's clearly drunk, because you can tell by the way she's like talking, the way she kind of slurring and stuff. And yeah, just like the way she's acting, she's not herself. And then she starts kind of, she causes a scene, and she's like, I know you're all blaming me for what happened. You might as well just come out and say it. And then Phyllis is like, Barb, go to bed, you're drunk.
Damn it, Margot.
Far From Blake, only seen Black Christmas once 2 years ago. I need to watch it again. Yes, definitely. This is a great movie. It has a lot of you can see like you can see how it had influenced the original Halloween. And also nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Yeah, Frankie says he was hammering the keys on that piano.
Yeah. It was. It was a mess.
Samuel Jackson's the house, motherfucker.
Yep. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that song was so weird. It was just really unsettling.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really, like, that was, you could tell that was part of the tension of the overall, like, atmosphere. They definitely, that was intentional. So then later on, we see Peter at the concert hall. He's there alone. He starts just destroying the piano.
Yeah.
And then now we're back at the sorority house again, and Jess and Claire's boyfriend comes home along with wait a second. Yeah, okay, so Jess, Claire's boyfriend, and the lieutenant,
which is John Saxon.
Yes, it was awesome in this movie. The lieutenant and like a lineman comes in, and Mrs. Max says, "Oh, is there any news?" And they're like, "Yes, we have news." And they close the door, and inside they're talking, but we're outside of the house and we can't hear anything that they're saying. So they're starting to leave the house, and Mrs. Mac is kind of like seems nervous, and you start to kind of question, like, wait, is Mrs. Mac in on this somehow? She gets Phyllis's attention, and she's like, I'm gonna be going to my sister for Christmas, so I might not be here when you get back. And Phyllis asks, just check on Barb before you leave. And so there's a the cops and that woman whose daughter it went missing, her name is Mrs. Quaife, they arranged like a search party, see if they can find anything find anything about where her daughter might be. And her daughter's name is Janice. So that's going on. And then back at the sorority, Mrs. Mack is packing up, and she hears the cat, and she starts like looking for the cat, and we see that the cat made it to the attic and is kind of licking at the bag that's over Claire's head, which that was so gross. Mrs. Mack starts to go looking for Claude, and makes sure, like, by his meows, she follows his meow to the attic, and she's looking around, and everything is dark still. Everything in the house is dark.
Yep.
And you can light. There's only light in certain spots, and it's really that's the way it was intended. Like, the atmosphere is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But as she's kind of looking around, seeing if she can see the cat, we see a man. Well, we see just a man's arms holding one of those hooks.
It's like the hook you would use like on a cherry picker for an engine.
Okay, yeah.
Like a pulley. It's hooked to a
Yes.
pulley system.
Yep. Yeah. A pulley hook thing. And he's kind of like he's waiting to attack. She looks around and then she spots Claire in the rocking chair. And then as she sees that, the man like lets go, and she gets it with the hook, and it pulls her body up, and that's all we see at that point.
Yep.
And then as that's happening, she's screaming, like we hear her screaming, and then someone shows up at the door, and is like, is anyone in there? And nobody like comes to the door, obviously, so that person leaves.
It was the cab driver, because she was leaving and she had a taxi waiting outside.
So, that's who that was. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. Sense. Because I was like, who is this guy? All right,
he was honking the horn, and she's like, okay, I got to go get my stuff. And she couldn't find the cat. And that's why he came to the door and was like, all right, fine. And just fucking left.
Yep. And then we hear the man in the attic. He's kind of like yelling, and he's kind of like throwing a fit, like kind of like that wasn't like that kill wasn't supposed to happen. It was really strange. Like he just starts hitting things in the attic.
Yeah.
And then we see Jess leave. Jess leaves the search party because she needs to meet Peter. And then at the search part, with like the search party is taking place, a woman starts screaming, and they end up finding Janice's body. And then back at the sorority house, Jess makes it home in time to answer the phone, and the caller says, "Help me, please stop me." And Claire asks, like, what do you want? Why are you doing this? And the caller says, in a different voice, "Filthy Billy, I know what you did, Billy, Billy, Billy." And it's just this weird, like, we don't, who the heck is Billy, and what is going on here? And then also there's like laughing, so it's kind of maniacal. Mm-hmm. And it's in different voices.
Yeah.
We don't like, it seems like there's more than one person at this point. So Jess hangs up, and then and she's like calling out for Mrs. Mack. Obviously there's no answer from Mrs. Mack. We know why. She decides to call the police. She wants to report the phone calls. And as she's calling, Peter comes down the stairs and kind of creeps up on her and surprises her. And then she's like, how did the recital go? And as she's doing that, she's also on the phone trying to report the calls. And then at the police station, so she's talking to the police at this time, and at the police station, that's where Claire's dad is, and he hears the officer repeat the address and recognizes that that's the address where Claire stays, a sorority house.
Yep.
So he kind of, he goes over and he's listening in on it. That piques his interest. And then Peter and Claire are talking, and he says, he's leaving the conservatory. He doesn't want to do that anymore. And then said he wants her, he wants just to marry him. And she's like, no, I have dreams. I have stuff I want to do. I don't want to marry you.
Yep.
And then back at the police station. Okay, so this is the funny part. So, Officer Nash, so Lieutenant Fuller is sitting at his desk, and then Nash says, well, I didn't want to bother you with it. And we see Claire's dad there, so we know like something is going, like he said something to prompt further investigation, and Lieutenant Fuller is like, a high school girl has been murdered, another girl is missing, and the house where, you know, this girl that went missing, you know, this house has been getting obscene phone calls, and don't you think we ought to look into it, Nash? And then Nash agrees, and then Nash and the father walk out, and the Lieutenant Fuller and his other partner there, they're cracking up laughing at Nash, and then Nash goes to like make a phone call and notices something written on the paper, and he goes, Nash, can I speak to you? And the other cop is still like laughing his ass off, and he asks Nash, like, what is this number? And Nash says, oh, it's a new exchange. It's fellatio. And the other cop they are cracking up laughing.
Yeah.
And that was hilarious. Soul Assassin, on the third day of Black Christmas, Trina and Etep gave to us. Yes, the killer is crazy.
Yeah.
And hello, Soul Assassin. Good to see you.
What up, Soul?
And when you see John Saxon in one of these movies, you know you got a champion in your corner for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, John Saxon's awesome, and his acting.
He was great in Tenebrae too. He was so swarmy.
Yeah, really, his acting is so good.
Range.
Yes, very much. And yeah, so they're laughing their asses off, and then he said, Lieutenant Fuller says, Nash, I don't think you could pick your nose without written instructions. And then Nash is standing there in the doorway, and he goes, I know, it's something dirty, isn't it? And they're just laughing their asses off.
Poor Nash.
Well, he was an idiot.
He was an idiot. He was he was definitely the
He was not only an idiot, he was actually just a bad cop, actually.
Yeah, he would have fit in really well in Haddonfield.
For sure.
You know, he just excellent cannon fodder cop.
Yeah. Small town, like, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we're back at the sorority again. Like I said, this movie, we go back and forth from places, and we go to the sorority and away from the sorority a lot. And so now we're back at the sorority, and Peter and Jess are still having that conversation, and Peter is really mad. He smashes an ornament on the tree, and he says that, Jess, you're a selfish bitch. You're talking about killing our baby as if you were just having a wart removed. And that phrase is actually important later on. And he's like, no, you're not going to get rid of that baby. You're and he's like, you can't do that without, you know, talking to me about it first. And she's like, well, you're not going to tell me what I can and can't do. And she's like, and then she's like, you got to leave. And he says, you're going to be very sorry. And as he's leaving, Lieutenant Fuller and Phyllis, and the lineman, that's when they come in. And Lieutenant Fuller kind of gets a vibe as Peter's leaving.
Yep.
And Fuller asks Jess if she's the one who reported the calls. And she says yes, and he said, okay, we need permission to tap the line, and explains to her, like, you know, what that's going to do and stuff. And so the lineman starts to work on the phone, and the Lieutenant Fuller, he goes up and checks on Claire's room, and he's asking basic, you know, investigative questions like who was the last person to see her, etc., that kind of stuff. And ask, you know, is there anybody else that lives in the house? And she says, well, yeah, Barbara. And he's like, well, let's let her sleep, because she's the one who talked about the fellatio being a new area code. And so he's kind of giggling about that. And then the lineman Bob is all set with the phone, and he says, okay, so when you get a phone call, keep them on the line as much as possible so that we can trace it. And then he says, he shows Phyllis and Jess that, there's a cop car out here, this guy, he's here to protect you and stuff. And Phyllis is like, yeah, whatever. She's not convinced. So then the cops leave, and we see Peter watching from behind a tree. And then Phyllis is we're back in the house now, and Phyllis is crying, and she's like, I just know Claire's dead. And then she's like, I'm exhausted. I take these pills to sleep, and I just need to go to bed and sleep it off and stuff. And Jess is like, yeah, go to bed. And she says, call me if there's any news. So okay, so now in the attic we see a man singing and kind of rocking Claire's body, and now Claire is holding a baby doll, and so that was strange. And then yeah, right. And then
that was a weird add-in.
Yeah, we have no idea what the heck is going on with this guy in the attic. He's obviously mentally not there. Okay, J-Man, random. This was the first movie I loaned my now wife, girlfriend at the time. Congratulations. And I didn't know she hated horror movies. She watched up to the plastic wrap and stopped.
Oh.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to ask, hey, do you like horror?
Yeah. How into this genre are you on a scale of 1 to what the? She obviously didn't mind too much. They got married, so right? It was like, well, she's like, this isn't a deal breaker.
And yes, manliness. Yes, this was it right after or was it right before? I can't remember. But yeah, it was right around that time. And yes, I did say it, fellatio. I'm
gonna clip that.
Oh no.
Yes, I did say fellatio. This is a new bumper. Oh, manliness said Roe was 1973. So yeah.
Oh, there we go. So yeah, you're right.
This was probably in production around that time.
Yep. All right, and so now Jess is sitting by the phone, and she hears like a gasping sound from Barb's bedroom. So she goes and checks on her, and Barb is having an asthma attack because she had a nightmare, and her nightmare was of a stranger coming into her room. And then she calms down, and that was a little bit of a prophetic nightmare. She falls down, goes back. She falls back asleep, and then downstairs we see Carol has come up to the door, and Jess opens the door and kind of just watches them as they're singing. What was it? Come all ye faithful. Mm-hmm. And we see as this is going on, the kind of cutting back and forth, we see the man from the attic go into Barbara's room, picks up one of her, because she had these glass figurines of unicorns and stuff, and picks up one of her figurines of the unicorn one, and it's humongous. And he stabs her with that. And so that's the end of Barbara.
Bye, Margot Kidder.
And that's the picture, the on the movie. That's the promo picture. Mm-hmm. That's what that is. Where he of him getting ready to stab Barbara.
Yep. And they did that in the 2019 one. They didn't do it the same. It wasn't a glass unicorn. It was an icicle. I think they did that in the beginning of the 2006 one, if I'm not mistaken. The first kill is the one girl outside and she gets stabbed with an icicle. And they did that, or was that the beginning of 2019? But it just reminded me of that Margot Kidder kill, except it wasn't a glass or an ornamental unicorn, which the horn kind of resembles an icicle. I'm trying to think if that was 06 or 2019. I want to say it was 2019 that they did that.
Yeah, I can't remember. I saw both of those once, and I can't remember them. Yeah. I just remember not liking them.
Yeah, the 06 one, it's tolerable, but it's not great, not something that you really need. Where's Superman when you need him, Barb? Asks Frankie, right?
Yep.
She could have used Christopher Reeves in that one.
Yeah, for real. All right, and then a woman comes up. Okay, so they're the girls are Carol, the little girls are Carol, and then there's like a woman, taking them around, and a woman comes up to the woman in charge of the carolers and says, "Get the kids in the car. There's been a girl found murdered and stuff," and that woman says to Jess, a girl was found murdered in the park, and Jess is like, "Yeah, I know." And then she goes, "Your phone is ringing," and the phone is ringing in the background, and I just like made a mental note of that because I thought that was a funny exchange.
Between her and the lady on the porch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird.
Yeah, it was different. It was like there was some different dialogue. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, like your phone is ringing. Like Jess isn't. I don't know. It's just strange. But anyway, so Jess answers, and this is another one of those strange phone calls with this kind of like a whining voice, and it's "No, Billy, no," and it sounds like a child's voice.
Yep.
And then it switches to a man's voice, and he's like, "Shit, tonight." And then a woman's voice, "No, Billy, no way." And then there's crying, and then a woman's voice again. "What your mother and I must know. You know what? Just like having a wart removed." And then and Jess is listening to all this, and these are all said in different voices. It sounds like different people. Mm-hmm. And so and then it disconnects, and then like it hangs up, and Jess recognizes that just like having a wart removed, because Peter said that to her earlier, and she's like, "Oh my God." And so Lieutenant Fuller calls and says, "I'm sorry, we couldn't trace it. He wasn't on the phone long enough." But he asks, like, what was that about? What does that mean? And he says, the man that was leaving the house earlier, was that your boyfriend? And she said, "Yeah, like that was Peter." And he asked if they were fighting, and she says, "Yeah." And as she's answering, there's like a commotion happens, and a cop comes in with bird shot in his ass cheeks at the station.
Yeah.
This is comedic like relief right here, because oh my God. Okay, so the cop that got shot with the bird shot is like, "I got bird shot in my ass," and they also hauled the landowner in, and he's like, "Well, he was trespassing, and I'll do it again. Next time he'll get the whole gun up his ass sideways." And it was hilarious. I loved that. So that their conversation gets cut short because Jess was about to tell Lieutenant Fuller about Peter, but it got interrupted. So back at the sorority, Jess and Phyllis are talking, and we see like a shadow of someone watching from a doorway, and Phyllis is like, "Well, if you think it was Peter, then why don't you just tell the police that?" And Jess says, "Well, I'm not really sure." And Phyllis asked, "What was that commotion earlier?" And Jess said, "Oh, that was just Barb having an asthma attack. She's fine now. She's sleeping." They have no idea that she's been murdered by Attic Man.
Yep.
And yeah, and then Phyllis is like, I don't know, I really don't think it's Peter. And then the phone rings and it's Peter, and he's crying and he's like, please help me. And he starts begging her not to hurt the baby.
Yep.
And the call was very brief, and Fuller says, Lieutenant Fuller calls back and says, what did he mean by that? Don't hurt the baby. And then she explains to him like she's pregnant, but she doesn't want it, but Peter does. And he asks, in all these phone calls, has Peter ever been there? And then she remembers when she got one of those phone calls and Peter was coming down the stairs, and she's like, yes, I do remember that. So it couldn't have been Peter. And during this conversation, there's kind of a shadow in the background as when Jess was on the phone with Lieutenant Fuller, and when she says, oh, it couldn't have been Peter, the shadow moves away.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to be paying attention to see that, because I missed it at first. So that was well done. I like that. So we can see that the person is in the house.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the Lieutenant Fuller says, please try to keep him on the phone longer so we can trace him. And then back at the police station, that they decide to widen the search area to kind of like find out who did this to Claire and everything.
Yep.
And then Phyllis and Jess are like, I can't remember what they were doing, but a couple of search party volunteers come around the house and startles Phyllis. She goes to the door and they're like, oh, don't worry, we're with the search party. Make sure you lock your doors and windows and everything. And the girls are kind of like laughing about it and stuff. But, Jess is like, you know what? It's, we really do need to lock up all the doors and windows and stuff. So they decide to start doing that. And then at the police station, Fuller says that he wants the dean of students to provide him with anything they have on Peter Smythe. Because he's definitely, he's suspecting Peter now.
Mm-hmm.
So Phyllis is locking up and goes to check. Barb's door is shut. She goes to check on Barb, gets the door open, and we hear Agnes, and then the door slams and behind her. So she's in the room. We don't see Phyllis again.
Yep.
And then Lieutenant Fuller's going to, like, he's at the recital hall and he sees like the smashed piano and everything. And then he gets a call and says, the guy says that, where the heck is it? I've lost it. Anyway, so Jess is locking up. The phone rings and she answers, and there's like a squeal, and there's, like on the phone we hear like, you pig, you lost your little baby, and then we have like a child's voice that says, no, Billy, no. And then we hear, ouch, help, help. And then we have a woman's voice, Billy, where's the baby? You left Billy alone with Agnes. And then a woman's voice again, Billy. And then a man's voice, where's the baby? And it's just a really disjointed conversation.
Yeah.
We're starting to get a picture that something happened, like Billy did something to, assuming his sister, his little baby sister, Agnes. And yeah, it's very strange. We really don't get the whole story, but that's kind of like the way that these conversations are going on these phone calls. It's kind of like the sense you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the lineman calls for Fuller at the recital hall and says, yeah, and then Fuller is, okay, the lineman's listening in, and the caller says, Billy's sick. I know you're there, nasty Billy. You answer this minute. And then a child's voice, Mommy. And then a woman's voice, come here. And yeah, like, this is very strange. And this kind of weird conversation goes on. And all we know is that, like, Billy did something to Agnes. That's all we know, but we don't know who these people are. And
yeah.
And then we see, like, at the end of that call, that the caller is actually sitting in Claire's room. And then Nash tells Fuller that, okay, yeah, so this is when Nash tells Fuller that the calls are actually coming from the sorority house. And Fuller's like, dude, no, you're wrong. That's where the calls are going to. And Nash says, no, they're also coming from. And Fuller, and then it kind of dawns on Fuller that the caller's in the house. So he radios the cop stationed at the sorority, Jennings, but there's no answer. And then we see that the camera pan over Jennings, and we see like his throat's been slashed.
Yep.
And so he says, he tells Nash to call Jess and tell her to get out of the house, but don't tell her that the calls are coming from inside the house. And he says, if you screw this up, I will kill you. So back at the sorority, Jess is calling up the stairs to Phyllis and not getting any answer. The phone rings, and Nash tells her, okay, put the phone down and leave the house. He's like, don't ask me why, just do as I tell you. Mm-hmm. And she says, okay, I'll get Phyllis and Barb and leave the house. And Nash is like, no, the caller is in the house. He specifically did what he's not supposed to do.
Yep.
Oh, man. And so she's like, she's freaked. So she just kind of lets go of the phone, doesn't hang it up or anything, just lets go. And she starts screaming for Phyllis and Barb. And we see, like, from upstairs, as if we're behind the camera looking down at Jess, and she's kind of going over towards the fire. She grabs a poker, and she's still yelling for Phyllis and Barb, obviously not getting any answer because we know they're gone. And then she goes upstairs because, of course, and she opens the door to Barb's bedroom and discovers that Phyllis and Barb are deceased. And then so as she's in that room, we hear, Agnes, it's me, Billy. And then we see from the crack of the door a very cool angle.
Yes.
All we see is an eye. And it's just like in the crack of the door where the door is where the hinges are on the door. Mm-hmm. And it's a cool shot. I really did appreciate this shot.
She slams his hand in the door before she jets to try to get out the front, which she can't do.
Yep. She slams the door. He's screaming, and she runs towards the front door, and he's also screaming. He's able to grab her. We actually still don't see him though,
nope.
But we see him grab, like his hand grab her by the hair. she's able to actually get away, and she hides from him in the basement. She locks the door behind her, and then she's down there. She's down in the basement, and she kind of hears like mumbling, and so she's like being very careful to be quiet. Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I think I would have just. I don't know if I would have just run out of the house either. I feel like I would have tried to get my friends out. So I don't know.
I would have yelled for them
Yeah.
from the door as I was leaving.
Mm.
Sorry, self-preservation is a fucking big thing, because without my life, I ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, knowing how many fucking potential victims there are, that's going to flash in my head real quick and be like, they're probably already fucking dead at this point, you know? So I'm going to just go outside. I'm going to remove myself from the situation, unless I'm armed, in which, you know, that, you know, adds another layer to the situation. But in her is Barb, or Jessica's the main one, right? That's
she's the one that's alive right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Huss was her last name. Olivia Huss.
Hussey.
Yeah. Olivia Hussey.
I love that name.
I know. I would have booked it. I would have booked it. You know, this is horror. This is like the beginning of the slasher genre. So this is where we start to get the tropes. Oh, we'll stay in the house. We'll go back over here. We're not supposed to go. You know?
We'll go up the stairs instead of out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That choose your own adventure was not good.
Yeah.
I hope she kept her finger on the page so she can flip back.
Yeah, okay, so she's hiding in the basement, and this is really cool. I love the way they filmed this. So the windows and the door kind of seem like they're frosted windows.
Yep.
So yeah, you can just make out like shadows. So we see a shadow of a man kind of outside, walking slowly. You know, it looks like he's stalking. He's walking. He's obviously after her. And he goes up to the basement window, and he's calling toward her, but it's in like a muffled voice, so we don't know who it is. And the way they did that with the shadows on the window, I loved the way that looked. That was great cinematography. But as she's hiding, she then realizes, he actually, the person who was outside, breaks the cellar door glass and makes it in, and she realizes who it is, and we see her mouth his name, and we see her mouth the name Peter. And that's when we're like, oh my God, it was Peter the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah. So she's like hiding from him as he's breaking the glass and coming in and stuff. And then he ends up finding her, and he's like, why didn't you answer me when I was calling for you? And then it cuts away to the cops arriving on the scene at the sorority house, and we hear screaming. And then next thing we see is Fuller down in the basement. And as he's looking around, he then looks towards the corner, and we find Peter and Jess. And Peter is on Jess's lap, and it looks like they're both dead.
Mm-hmm.
But then Jess like tips her head up, and we can see that Jess is still alive, and she looks at Fuller. That's it. Next we see everybody's upstairs. Jess is in bed. I don't did they put her in some kind of coma or something?
They gave her sedatives.
Okay.
Yeah, they dosed her up to put her, like, basically put her to sleep because she
Okay.
was in shock.
Yeah. 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 She's just laying there, and Fuller's like, "When will I be able to ask her questions?" And the doctor is like, "Probably not till tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
And then Claire's dad is there, and he passes out because he's in shock too. So they get him to the hospital. They have him taken to the hospital, and then there's like they're doing their thing and everything, and all we see is Jess in bed, and then everybody leaves the house, and it's just Jess in bed all alone, and the camera kind of pans through the house into the rooms, and then suddenly we hear like laughter and muffled voices from the attic.
Yep.
And then we see the bodies of Mrs. Mack and Claire, and we hear, "Agnes, it's me, Billy." And then the camera pans out, and the cop is outside. And this is the end. This is how the movie ends. The camera is just kind of panning out, and the cop kind of turns his head towards the door as the phone is ringing, but just leaves it ringing.
Yep.
And that's it. It ends with the phone ringing. That was I thought that was a really good ending.
It was so ambiguous.
And it's like, wait a minute, if Peter's dead, who the hell is in the attic?
Yep.
So yeah, I love how they left it. We don't know who the killer really is.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I liked it. And like I said, that's a very Carpenter, Dean Cundy shot at the end, which you can see in Halloween. Yeah.
Yep.
The thing they got, I'm thinking, I'm like, because they're panning up the attic and they show Mrs. Mack and they show the first girl up there, and with the plastic, Claire with the plastic on her face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they didn't think to check the attic when they were there. Like,
I know.
This is a house where multiple homicides have taken place. You've got the place crawling with cops. Never once did it occur to you to maybe go up in that attic and just have a little look-see up there.
Yeah, that was
That's like I said, Haddonfield Police, ladies and gentlemen, Haddonfield Police. This was supposed to be set in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was shot in Toronto. But yeah, this was a fantastic movie. I have no complaints about this one at all. Like I said, that little nitpick at the end it didn't, it is what it is.
Yeah, because if they had checked the attic, then yeah, we would have found out who the killer is. Everything, there would be no mystery.
Yeah, that's what I like about this is the mystery, like I said, the mystery and the ambiguity to the ending.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really worked here, and it just gave you that feeling of the good guys lost at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind because it was done well enough to be like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to go, in this story. The happy ending thing wouldn't have worked with this movie.
No, definitely not. It doesn't feel right. Like, there are a couple of horror movies I've watched recently that had happy endings, and it's rare for that to work in a horror movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, it's supposed to leave you, like, kind of uneasy. These aren't movies that you're supposed to feel good after.
Nope. You need that feeling of dread, almost like melancholy at the end of it, because then the movie's done its job.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they're supposed to do. And without that, you really do lose something.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this succeeds, is there's ambiguity. You have the overwhelming sense of dread. It kind of takes the wind out of the sails of the Christmas holiday. It gets into that territory where it's like, something fun and enjoyable like the holidays being in a sorority turns into this living nightmare for these girls.
Right.
And the people they should be able to turn to, the police, are baffled and stumped. So yeah, this was good. I really, really like this.
Yeah. I love this movie.
What up, Digsby?
Hey, Digsby. So CB asked a question. If they, oh wait, I'm sorry, not that one. This one. Did we ever find out who was the body at the end?
In the plastic? That was Claire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was Claire. And that's another thing. Her body is positioned right in that window.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, it's just sitting there in the window. Nobody noticed.
Nobody saw a dead body. Like, you would have been like, hey, what is that up there? Let's go check that out. You know, any sort of, you know, police acumen would have would have done that. But no, like I said, I don't mind the police being kind of dim-witted in that respect in this movie, because it all just works to serve the main, you know, thread, which is that, like I said, which is just, not to rhyme, but it's overwhelming dread and just terror over these girls and all these police and, you know, people who are supposed to be able to handle these kind of situations. So no, I love this movie. This was an absolute blast to watch again.
Yeah, same. I have absolutely no complaints with this movie.
No.
Yeah. What, want to rate it?
I do. I'll let you go first.
All right. So I'm gonna give it a 10.
A 10?
Yep.
A 10 out of 5 or 5 out of 5?
Oh, 5 out of 5. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
5 out of 5. I'm gonna go the same. I don't think I've rated a movie this perfect since was it Halloween? I think Halloween 78 was a 5 of 5 too. But this was freaking fantastic. What up, Trav Zimmerman? He says, hi, this video just popped up in my recommended. Black Christmas 74 is a masterpiece. Yeah. We both gave this a perfect 5 out of 5. And I don't give those scores out, a perfect score to a movie, lightly. Normally, like I said, I find the older movies get the better scores just because they're so much more well constructed.
Yeah.
They don't cheap out on things. They don't cut, you know, they cut corners because they had to. It was a means to an end and it was a necessity. But the fact that they don't have $100 million budget, or, you know what I mean? You know, it's hyperbole, but some astronomical budget really made them put that extra, well, we got to figure this out because this is how we want it to look and be presented. I think that plays into the favor of the movies, especially these older ones, where you actually had creatives like John Carpenter and Bob Clark in this case that were you know, shooting these.
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this one. This was a freaking blast. It's a fantastic movie. Billy is an underrated slasher. He really is. You never hear anybody bringing him up on any lists of famous slashers, when this was pretty much the archetype, you know, that would be set up for slasher movies.
Yeah.
You know, this is it. Black Christmas is that, or I should say, like the prototype. You know, and I don't want to say they're cookie cutter, because you had a hell of a variety. Because after this, you got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which that one is that's more of a dark comedy, really. If you it is. It really is. If you look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, yeah, it's a slasher, but there's very dark humor in that movie.
Especially the second one.
Oh, I haven't seen the second one in forever.
I can't stand it. I really can't. Is
that Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey?
I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
Yeah. Is that the one with Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey, or was that the Dennis Hopper one? I can't remember those. It's been ages since I've seen any of those.
was the okay. So I know, me too. So in the part 2 was the woman who was the DJ for the station. Was that the same woman that was in the fog?
Adrienne Barbeau?
Yeah, is that her?
I don't think so. I don't know. Like I said, let me look. Let's look up Adrienne. I don't think it was Adrienne Barbeau. I might be wrong though.
I just can't remember.
Let's see. Adrienne Barbeau, who was pretty gorgeous back in the day, man. Let's see. I liked her in oh God. The Creep Show. Was it Creep Show? Yeah, Creep Show. The one where he's the professor and he's got the box under the stairs from the Arctic.
Oh, that was a great one.
Yep. Let's see. So she is, we got to go way back here. Let's see. Adrienne Barbeau, where are we at? Jesus, 20. She's still acting too, which is pretty rad. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So her acting credits go back to 1976. The Dark Side of Terror, The Fog, Creep Show, The Thing, Twilight Zone. Huh. Oh my God, Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. The movie that tried to make Bill Maher an alpha male. That didn't work, but that's still a fun movie. I don't see her in it.
Oh, then yeah, maybe it obviously wasn't her.
No, that I can't think of that girl's name. Black Christmas is on Peacock. Manliness. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. Okay. Thank you, CB. Yeah, I'm not a huge aficionado on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise.
No, neither.
I've seen the original one, a dozen times in my life. I've seen the sequels, the 80s and 80s, 90s sequels, maybe once each. Then the remakes. I didn't see the 3D remake, but I saw the Jessica Biel one.
Oh yeah, yep.
I love Arlie Ermy.
Yes.
My God, he was fucking terrifying in those movies. Holy shit. That dude was fantastic. But no, this we'll eventually dig into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ones as we make our way through these franchises. When you recommended this for the show, I was like, we should do all three. No, we shouldn't do all three of them.
Oh, thank you.
No,
oh man.
No, we shouldn't. We only need to focus on one, which was the good one.
Yeah.
My favorite kill was Barb with the crystal unicorn while the children Christmas carolers sang brilliantly. Yeah. That was a great kill. That was like the most brutal kill. Where you actually got because you had Mrs. Mack in that one where the kills they were allowed to be a little more, hey, we're gonna show a little, they didn't show the actual kill shots, but the implied violence was there more, and they kind of lingered in the scene a little bit longer, whereas the other ones were like jump cuts. And was it Phyllis was the female Jean Charlotte. We really, she, like you said, she goes in the room, the door closes, and it's over for her. She's done. The police one reminded me of Halloween 4 with a cop getting killed in the car. Or was that 5 with a cop getting killed in the car? But yeah, the influences are of this movie are everywhere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, this was good. This was a good one. Pair of 5 out of 5s on this. I really don't have anything else to add to this one.
No, same. I loved it. Yeah. Trav Zimmerman, that was also my favorite kill. It was I think that was really the only kill we got to see, and even then, and that's the interesting thing about this movie as well is we really didn't see the kills. So even in spite of that, it was still really, really well done.
Yeah.
You don't always have to see all the gore for a horror movie to be a good horror movie.
And somebody brought that up earlier. It might have been CB, that all they do now is show people getting torn apart.
Mm.
And that has its place, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but I like movies. I like horror like this. It's not elevated horror, but it's not straight out just gore porn. You
Right.
know, it's got the aspects of the slasher movies, and it doesn't have any of the gaga. Now, I like special effects, don't get me wrong, but there's a way to intermix that with a good story, whereas you're not just leaning on one aspect of your horror as opposed to taking advantage of more, you know, to connect with different parts of the audience. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got on this one. It's a fucking great movie. I highly recommend if you like, you know, holidays themed horror, this is a great Christmas horror movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Do we have anything else?
No, that's it. This was great.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it if you like Christmas horror, and yeah, it was just a great movie.
And we're gonna finish in less than 4.5 hours tonight.
Yes. Oh man.
We're right on par at an hour and 37 minutes with the runtime of the movie too, which we're doing good. So are you on Collectible Pass this week? And wait, what tomorrow night you're doing what movie series are you doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, Vinnie and I will be doing we're gonna be starting our review series of the Hannibal TV show. We'll be doing episode 1 tomorrow. That will be on my channel Real Horror at 8 p.m. Eastern. So hope to see you there. It'll be fun. And then, Thursday is Collectible Past on Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective's channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That's about it for me.
All right. Yeah, Trav, every Tuesday night right here, 8:35, man. We do a different movie every week. Thank you for joining us. Trina's link is in the description, so you can subscribe to her wonderful channel as well, and follow her on the social media, same as myself. We'll have These People Are Fucking Happy cast tomorrow for you channel members. Last week we did a public one. Tomorrow we'll be Tony and I. We have some wrestling talk. We're going to talk about the WrestleMania ticket prices, and I might stream after I get out of camp tomorrow night because I'm going to wrestle tomorrow night, WWE style. For those of you new here, I've spent the better part of a decade on the independent scene, took about 7 years off, and at 44, middle-aged and crazy, I said, hey, let me stack on about an extra 20 pounds and get back in the ring. So I've been training. I went to camp a couple weeks ago, and I've got some family stuff going on, so I haven't been able to make it in the last couple, but I'm going tomorrow, and looking to a either January or February debut for Super Shogun Pro Wrestling. With my new horror gimmick, I'll have the Jason Voorhees hockey mask. Our Wrestling with Horror logo will be right here, and the one in the upper right corner, that'll be on my singlet and all my gear and everything. We do have merch available in the Teespring store. That's just go to Teespring and search Wrestling with Horror. You can get your merch fix, or right on the main page, the shop tab right there. But that's it. Thank you, guys. What up, Lurch? Good to see you, man.
Hey, Lurch.
But thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a great night, a pleasant tomorrow. If we don't see you, remember, it's always better to burn out than fade away.